Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent video for this week where I take a look at some of the stories that caught my attention for this week and give you my thoughts and my opinion. If somehow my voice sounds a little bit different, though, it's because I'm unfortunately fighting a cold and all that stuff. So hopefully I'm at the tail end of it and all that stuff, but as of right now, it sucks having a cold and all. But enough about me talking about my cold and everything. Why don't we get started with this week's My 2 cent video? And for this one, we're going to be talking about 5 stories that kind of caught my attention. So we'll start off with the first one. And the first one has to do with Reggie Fils-Aime. Now, Reggie Fils-Aime obviously has been the president of Nintendo of America since, I believe, around 2006, around the time the launch of the Nintendo Wii has come out. And he has certainly earned a reputation. There are some that do like him, they call him the Reginator, all that stuff, and some don't. I mean, there are some people who agree with him, some people disagree with some of his comments and all that stuff. But he certainly has earned a fan base, though. Whether you like him or not, depends on your point of view. Well, Reggie Fils-Aime sat down with The Hollywood Reporter recently and made some interesting comments, though. One was about the gap of third-party support for the Nintendo Switch, and another one was a comment about Red Dead Redemption 2 that, to me, kind of caught my attention, or at least the way he worded it, though. So, in an article on Nintendo Life, which they picked up from the Hollywood Reporter interview that they did, if you want to read that interview, link will be in the description of this video. The first one has to do with third-party gaps, and according to Reggie, he made several comments. The first one, he said, quote, "The way this industry works, games are in development for multiple years. People forget that Switch is only experienced its second holiday. So many games that are just launched were well in development before any conversation were had with these developers regarding the Nintendo Switch." The article from Nintendo Life says, quote, Reggie went on to explain how Switch was gaining ground with simultaneously launches, making references to Mortal Kombat 11 and Crash Team Racing, which I'll get to that one a little bit later in our My 2 cent video. He further states how Nintendo has now proven itself to developers and publishers with a growing install base. He said, now that we've been in the marketplace coming up on 2 years, now that we've shown the pace with which we're growing an install base and doing it globally, that's the other piece that is meaningful for developers, he said. Our strength is in America, our strength is in Asia, our strength is in Europe. Depends which part of Europe. I know France, I know the Switch is popular. UK, it's doing good, but not near the level of, say, France is, at least from what I've been reading, though. Strength in Europe is critically important. That's what we create the opportunity for developers to make sure their content is available on Switch at the earliest opportunity. So his discussion is his part, at least on the third-party part, is the fact that because the Switch came out, a lot of these games were in development before they can even bring it over to the Switch, which to some extent that might be true, though. I mean, look at, say, Doom 2016 or Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus, though. I mean, those games, Doom 2016 came out a year later, while Wolfenstein 2 came out also a year later. So there might be some truth to that, but at the same time, there's also the fact that there are a lot of third-party developers that have given, shall we say, sort of a middle finger attitude towards the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff, or Nintendo in the past. So for this statement, though, I think Reggie's right on one part, where a lot of these games, you know, the Switch came out at a time when a lot of these games were already in development and they didn't have like a Switch development kit. But at the same time, I also think there are developers that have no interest in making games for the Switch, or they have sort of shrugged off or give sort of like the middle finger response in terms of any games coming to the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of any game coming to the Switch, although this article I think was from Australia, IGN.com, not Hollywood Report. This one, however, was from The Hollywood Reporter, and this kind of caught my surprise on this one was the way Reggie responded to, and it was about the possibility of Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, assuming I have the time and all that stuff, I've been playing it on my PS4, and I definitely do enjoy the game. I understand it kind of gets off to sort of a slow start from the beginning, which is a legitimate criticism to make, but once you get into Chapter 2, things start to open up and so forth, though. Well, obviously that game has done very well. I think when it first launched, it made over 725 million. It certainly has garnished a lot of good attention, and people are enjoying it. More than I can say about Red Dead Online, where some people are not happy with some of the decisions they made, especially the whole microtransactions and all that stuff. So not everyone's pleased with that part. But anyway, back on topic though, there was a comment about Red Dead Redemption 2, and the way Reggie worded this is kind of interesting to a certain degree. So, according to the article from Nintendo Life, it says, quote, "Of course, realistically, we doubt many people would have expected a game to arrive on the Nintendo Switch in the first place, consisting of a large, interactive open world with an incredible level of graphic details. Red Dead Redemption is simply too technical demand to run on the Switch in its current regular state. That doesn't mean Reggie Fils-Aime wouldn't like to see the game on the system, however, as provided by Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aime. He asked specifically about the interest in games such as Red Dead Redemption 2. He noticed that Nintendo would be absolutely interested in having the game on the platform, but that all major releases appear across other platforms at present wouldn't have been designed with the Switch in mind, hence the absence. According to the comment, he said, quote, absolutely, we love for it to be there, but again, and this is where we need to be an understanding of just the development process. Red Dead had been in development for years, time that predated any communication of Nintendo Switch. So from a developer's mentality, they need to move forward and finish the game they've been working on, and then be in a position to look at other opportunities. So what about major games which has only been dreamed up recently? We'll see, said Reggie, and he said, quote, any game from a key third party that's coming out now, typically that development started well before any conversation about the Nintendo Switch. What happens moving forward? We'll see. But that's how you wind up with a situation with Red Dead not being available on our platform. Now, there are many ways you can interpret this. Some may consider this as sort of spin on Reggie's part, and I won't disagree with that argument in a way, though. It could sound like spin, and some people may say that it's not technically possible to bring Red Dead Redemption 2 to the Nintendo Switch, and I could see to a certain degree. Even getting the game for the PS4, you had like two discs, a data disc and a gameplay disc. It took maybe an hour for the data disc to make sure it booted up all the stuff, and then you had to insert the gameplay disc. So for me, based on my time with the game when I had to boot it up, it took about 2 hours for the game to finally boot up and all that stuff. So I can see the argument being there that this game would not be technically possible for the Nintendo Switch. And I'm not a technical expert, but I don't disagree with that part. That said, we've seen games like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Warframe somehow make their way to the Nintendo Switch. So it's possible or something like that, but if they were to ever bring Red Dead Redemption 2 to the Nintendo Switch, I'm very curious how much optimization compression would have to go into this. Could they even possibly reach the bare minimum of 720p at 30 frames per second and all that stuff? I mean, I could see, say, Red Dead Redemption, the first one, making it over to the Nintendo Switch, along with Grand Theft Auto 5. 2, I'm not 100% sure 2 could make it over to the Nintendo Switch. It's possible if they could pull it off, or if they let a developer like Panic Button take a shot at it, though. But but I will say it was a very interesting comment Reggie said. It wasn't that it wasn't technically possible, it was just the timing wasn't there. So it was a surprising, interesting comment. Now, like I said earlier, it's possible that from a technical standpoint, it may not be possible. Possibility. I won't exactly rule that part out at all. But overall, it's an interesting comment that Reggie made. Whether you agree with him or not, that certainly is open for interpretation and open for debate. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, and this one has to do with Mortal Kombat 11, and apparently a leak came out of what we could expect for that game, or at least what was leaked to be exact. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My True Set video, and for this one we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 11. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, whether you excuse me one second, whether you love or hate the video game awards, they showed off several trailers for several upcoming games. Obviously, some of them range from Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3, which we now know is a Switch exclusive, to Mortal Kombat 11, which was announced to multiple platforms. Even the Nintendo Switch is certainly getting a version, although there has been some reports that the premium edition is not coming to the Nintendo Switch, at least as far as I'm aware of. Well, it seems as though a leak from GameStop Italy may have posted out some new details about Mortal Kombat 11, and it's been picked up by several different sites though. In an article from DualShock, it's reported that they're saying, quote, "It's been a whirlwind week for the newly announced Mortal Kombat 11. In a new leak, GameStop Italy has overshared in the game listing offering a brand new render and unreleased details on the upcoming game. Seen on GameStop's Italy listing of Mortal Kombat 11 Premium Edition, a more detailed description adds some details that we haven't heard about yet. The subpoint says roughly, with the bold added for the emphasis. It is reported that the game will have a new game engine with even more bloody scenes, new customization system with clothes, accessories, and moveset never seen before, new fatalities, as well as a new gore tech system to make the executions even more brutal, and strong multiplayer component fully oriented towards the esports, personalized system, daily news, constant update, and an improved matchmaking. This Gore-Tex system so far hasn't been officially mentioned by the developers NetherRealm, and it isn't immediately clear what the system is. As you may have noticed though, it will play in conjunction with the series' signature fatality system to deliver on different types of execution. So it's interesting that they are using a new game engine. I don't know if it's a customized engine they created from scratch from themselves, or if they're referring to like maybe a customized version of, say, the Unreal Engine 4 or anything, or any other engine to be exact though. The fact that it's sort of fully oriented or geared towards more the esports people, that may or may not appeal to everybody though. So again, I'm not the biggest fighting game person or anything out there, but that doesn't mean I'm against, like fighting games or anything like that, or especially those coming to the Nintendo Switch. What I'm very curious about, not only with this leak, is especially with the Switch version, is how will this look on the Nintendo Switch? Are we getting all this feature that they're mentioning for the Switch version of Mortal Kombat 11, which was later shown on Nintendo's own website, which basically had the announcement trailer as well? And I'm curious to see what they mean about the new execution, or the fatalities and all that stuff. Is this going to be like, I think there was some criticism about the whole, you pay money to do the easy fatalities. That part not everybody was a fan of. So there's still certainly some questions, but I'm very curious to see what this new game engine is. And on top of that, I'm also very curious to see, and I said this before, how all this will run on the Nintendo Switch. Excuse me. I'm very curious to see how all this feature make it onto the Switch version, and will it run on the Switch very well. So overall, it's an interesting thing that GameStop Italy is posting. We'll have to wait and see until NetherRealms or Warner Brothers Games makes an official announcement, though, and I'm very curious to see how all of this is going to run on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 3, and this one has to do with a comment that the folks at EA made about the upcoming Dragon Age 4, which isn't exactly sitting very well with everyone. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My True Scent video, and for this one we're going to take a look at some controversy that may have emerged with upcoming Dragon Age 4. Now, during the Video Game Awards, there were several trailers, of course, obviously were shown. Obviously, the ones I mentioned were like Mortal Kombat 11 that I talked about, and of course last week I talked about Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 Black Order. The other one, of course, is Dragon Age 4. There was a bit of a teaser trailer that was shown off. Of course, it was from EA and all that stuff. And, well, apparently a recent comment made by some of the developers about what to expect from Dragon Age 4 has certainly not sit well with everyone, though. While some may not view it as a big deal, others are certainly having some issues with it. And this all stems from a tweet that one of the developers has said. Now, supposedly, it was first pointed out by the article by Hard OCP, which, again, links will be in the description. But supposedly, it was discovered on Archive Today, which someone captured. And it comes from one of the developers. Now, this is what they said on the tweet, and I quote, "A few folks telling me after seeing my Twitter profile not to bring my politics into the game. Dragon Age has always been about belonging, about realizing that family is more than blood, and about celebrating our diverse and difference. It will remain so." He continued on by saying, quote, "Dragon Age is about hope, it's about love and friendships, our force for good, and about how, in the end, what we have is each other. Ultimately, though, all art is politics. It's just a hell of a lot easier to ignore it when those politics match up with yours. I wear my heart and my belief on my sleeve, as I always do. We have infinite time on this world. I would like to spend mine making it a better and more caring place." And obviously, some of the response has not been not exactly great. Some don't agree with it. Others may have taken it a little bit extreme with some of their comments and all that stuff. My takeaway from this is this. And some people are comparing this to what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, I didn't have a problem with the story in Mass Effect Andromeda, though, okay? I know some people are talking about the whole SJW, all political agenda and all, but honestly, I didn't have an issue with it, okay? My issue with the game itself was the fact that it was rushed out. It was using an engine that obviously did not work with Mass Effect, considering that Mass Effect used the Unreal Engine, and it felt like this is a game that could have been in the oven for a little bit longer. So there were a lot of technical issues. The story, I wasn't bothered with it as much or anything like that. So as far as politics in entertainment goes, I'm not entirely against it, though. I mean, we've seen different forms of entertainment media that have used politics before. One of my favorite, or at least in a certain way, one of my favorite games that I rank number 5 on my favorite video games of all time, Valkyrie Chronicles, to me tells a story of like what happens when we accept bigotry and hatred as the new norm. One of my favorite Marvel movies in the MCU, Captain America Winter Soldier talks about how much of your freedom are you willing to sacrifice in the name of safety and security. So I'm not against the idea of having like a political message in our entertainment form or media. That's not to say everyone is going to agree with it, but I am not completely against it. That said, however, I do think that given EA's reputation, I think that there's a lot of, I think the way they've handled it has rubbed people in the wrong way. Case in point is the recent release of the Battlefield game, where the whole issue stemmed from the fact that the reveal trailers, the first thing started with the reveal trailer, which showed a British female soldier with a prosthetic arm fighting in World War II, which, given the fact that they sort of portrayed the fact that they were talking about making this the most authentic World War II shooter out there, that rubbed people the wrong way. And then they made some comments about saying if you don't like it, don't buy it, to using during one of the DICE's events, they showed off all the tweets of people who made hateful comments and all that stuff. Honestly, I don't have an entire problem with the British woman with the prosthetic arm. Where I do kind of have the problem is where if you are promoting this game as authentic, you should not have put her there in the first place. I'm sure there are women that did fight in World War II, and I'm sure you could have used those campaigns if you wanted to, but I just think, given EA's reputation and all that stuff, I have a feeling this is going to rub people the wrong way. We saw how it played out in Battlefield 5, if I'm saying the name correctly, and I have a feeling there's a good chance it could go with Dragon Age 4. Now, Dragon Age 4 is a fantasy setting and so forth, not a authentic, realistic setting like the World War II setting or like Battlefield 5 is. So, I could, to some degree, I might give them the benefit of the doubt, and I probably will, but I will say, given the reputation that EA has learned, I'm not really holding my breath. After all, let's not forget this is the same company, other than the famous, if you don't like it, don't buy it, which obviously we saw how that played out. This is the same company that pushed the loot boxes and microtransactions in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the amount of backlash that got, and it took Disney to call them and tell them to pull them out. We saw how their EA performance was, especially when they showed off Command and Conquer Rivals, and basically the negative response to that one is, it was almost like a middle finger response that they gave, saying that, which almost came to the point of, we don't care. And let's not forget them constantly defending FIFA, despite the EU and other countries declaring microtransactions or loot boxes as gambling as well. So I would say that while I'm not entirely against politics being in gaming and all, if it's done correctly, I have to say, given EA's reputation, I have a good feeling that there's a good chance that the way they are presenting it may rub people in the wrong way. I could be wrong, and the game is years away, so we'll have to wait and see, but I don't have a lot of confidence, and a lot of it stems from the reputation EA has earned over the years. I certainly don't have a lot of confidence with the upcoming Anthem, and I certainly don't have a lot of confidence with Dragon Age 4. Not to mention, given EA's push for games as a service and the microtransactions and all that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of pushed for that for Dragon Age 4, which is unfortunate now, because, you know what, in a way, Inquisition was not a bad game and anything like that, and like I said about Andromeda, I think it could have been good if it had stayed in the oven maybe a little bit more than rushed out in the condition that it was, but I don't have any faith with EA or anything like that, so even if the intention of putting this political message in the game is not meant to offend people, or even if it's meant to send a positive message, given the reputation EA has earned, I'm not surprised that it's rubbing people the wrong way, though. Again, I don't have a problem with politics in gaming or anything like that. It all depends on how it's presented and so forth, but I won't dismiss the fact that there are people who are not happy about this, and I do agree to a certain extent with their position on this, though. Not the SJW or feminazi part, because Honestly, I feel like that card has been played one too many times in certain situations, though, but I can understand given how the way EA handled Battlefield 5, and many believe that it will be another Battlefield 5 situation. We'll have to wait and see, but right now, my confidence in EA handling Dragon Age 4, especially if they are pushing with a political message right now, is at an all-time low. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 4, and this one has to do with Crash Team Racing and what seems to be going on with the Switch version. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be... Excuse me, sorry, it's freaking cold and all, but enough about that. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the 4th part of our My 2 Cent video, and this one has to do with Crash Team Racing. Now, obviously, as I mentioned with Mortal Kombat 11, Dragon Age 4, Crash Team Racing was announced during the Video Game Awards, and it obviously looks like a remake of the original Crash Team Racing as far as I'm aware of. I never got to try the game out, but based on what I've seen, it looks like a Crash Team Racing take on the Mario Kart series, which, again, there's nothing wrong with that or anything like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a racing game compete against Mario Kart in general and all that stuff. And it seems as though that they have announced it for all the systems, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Or so we thought. But so it seems to be we're getting into an interesting episode regarding possibly the Switch version of Crash Team Racing. So according to an article from Nintendo Soup, link below in the description, it's reading, quote, "Everyone's favorite Bandicoot might have some trouble racing onto the Nintendo Switch. Apparently the Switch version of Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled is disappearing from online retailers for some reasons. Stores like Argo, ARGOS, do not even list it any longer, while Amazon UK currently states that pre-orders for the games are unavailable. Meanwhile, the PS4 and Xbox One version of the racing game are completely fine. These retailers have not given any reasons for the removal of the Switch version, and neither has publisher Activision. They're saying, let's just hope that Nintendo games don't receive the short end of the stick again. Now, just to be sure, I went over to Amazon.com to check it out situation myself, and based on what I've seen, they only have listings for the PS4 or Xbox One version. There's no listing for a Nintendo Switch version, as far as I'm aware of, for it on Amazon. Now, there are many ways we could look at this, though. It's possible, and this is one possible scenario, though. It's possible that maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they were going to save this announcement for, say, a Nintendo Direct. That's a possibility. Or it's possible that the game may not be coming to the Nintendo Switch at all, and they made a bit of a oopsie when they showed off the trailer and showed off of it coming to the Nintendo Switch. If that's the case, though, it seems a bit odd, because from what I understand, I remember hearing that Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy did sell very well on the Nintendo Switch, and even on the Xbox One and PC as well. So for this game to possibly not come to the Nintendo Switch is sort of odd. You would think something like that would sell very well. I mean, a lot of people point out, oh, no one will buy this because they got Mario Kart 8 and all. And don't get me wrong, I like Mario Kart 8 and all that, though, but I don't see any problem with something like Crash Team Racing coming to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe some people would like to see something else outside of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch. So it's certainly odd. I mean, it's possible they may have canceled the Switch version. It's possible that they were saving the announcement for maybe for Nintendo Direct, but whatever the case is, it just seems odd though. Hopefully Activision will say something. Hopefully I was going to say Nintendo, but more likely Activision to be exact. Hopefully we'll hear something soon, but I do kind of admit it is a very strange thing for this to be disappearing off pre-orders or off websites. Although Spawnwave did mention that supposedly when going over to the site, it mentions the Switch version as coming soon. So it's possible it still might be coming and all that. So we'll have to wait and see. But I will admit it is kind of strange. Compare that to, say, Mortal Kombat 11, which as it stands right now, it's coming out supposedly, I believe, April 29th. I could be wrong on that. And it has listed for the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch version. Now, anything could happen between now and April 29th. So we could see a delay or the release schedule change, or we could have the kind of situation we saw with Dark Souls Remaster, where the Switch version got delayed all the way down to October. So there is that possible scenario, and that could happen to Crash Team Racing or even Mortal Kombat 11 for that matter. But I'm hoping, and I am hoping, that the game isn't canceled for the Switch, but because it would be nice to see another kart racing game other than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch. Don't get me wrong, I like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I don't mind having another competitor, another kart racing competitor on the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 5, and this one has to do with Smash Bros. Ultimate, and, well, let's just say some people have found ways to put, taking snapshots of characters in, well, interesting places and interesting, we'll just say interesting places and positions. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 5th and final part of our My True Set video, excuse me, for this week. And this one has to do with Smash Brothers, and, well, let's just say there are people that have, well, found creative ways with the game. Now, as you know, Smash Bros. Ultimate has came out, and apparently the game is doing very well sales-wise. I think it became the number 1 game in the UK and also in Japan, and I'm pretty sure it's selling well here in the US. I gotta try the game out myself, though. Even though I'm not the biggest Smash Bros. Fan out there, I would say more of a casual, not the hardcore person out there. Well, nevertheless, it seems as though people have found many creative ways to use the camera or the snapshot action, and that certainly has caught several sites' attention on this, though. So we'll start off with the first one. This one comes from Nintendo Life, and they picked it up from SoarNews24.com, and according to the article from Nintendo Life, it says, quote, Nintendo is a family-friendly company and tries as hard as possible to maintain that stance, at least when it comes to the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom. But just like in Jurassic Park, Life, or should that be a horny subsection of the gaming community, not really surprising, finds a way. In this particular case, it's having a cheeky look of Princess Peach skirt, a realm that has previously been Tangleish, Tantalisingly, off limits. To protect Peach's modesty, a black void has been deployed in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, perverted lusting eyes from glazing up her royal undergarment. This inky blackness has been taken as a challenge by some players who have tried toilsly for many hours rather than doing other things like actually enjoying the game themselves. I mean, hey, this is what they want to do. This is what they want to do. In order to concoct, CONCOCT, a mean of banishing it and getting it full, unfretted version of Peach's bloomers. According to one post on Twitter, if you use the light from Ness's forward throw, you can penetrate the princess's dark matter. And what has all this painstaking research told us? What could possibly lie up Peach's skirt? Outside of the rather unexciting pink knockers, not much. But believe it or not, Peach is not a real person with proper reproduction organs, yada yada yada. She is an assemble of polygons in a fighting game set in a cartoon fantasy world which exists only within the memory banks of your Switch console. This news is apparently a shock to some people, really. Nevertheless, according to Sword News 24, there was a general merriment, MERRIMENT, among a small group of Japanese fans when the exploit was found, but one astute commentator really hit the nail on the head. I wonder if these guys know there's a whole bunch of games on the PS4 where you can see women's underwear. Excuse me. I saw the article from Source 24 and they showed off the picture, and well, I don't know. It's kind of excuse me. It's kind of amazing to me. This is coming from a company that is okay with Dead or an uncensored, pretty much an uncensored version of Dead or Alive Extreme 3 coming to the Nintendo Switch. This certainly is interesting, and it's not the only one. Apparently, some players had found use of Diddy Kong as well, and according to this one, this from Nintendo Soup, it's reported, quote, in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, players now can easily take creative screenshots thanks to the frame-by-frame feature and other powerful snapshot tools. One of the latest trends topics in Smash Bros. Community in Japan is none other than Diddy Kong. Apparently, Diddy Kong's monkey flip move makes it easier for fans to create lewd pictures of Diddy Kong and another fighter together. And they shows off some examples to be exact. And, well, I'll give credit to those who have come up with creative ways with Diddy Kong. I'll have a link in the description. You can check it out yourself. And last but not least, though, now they've come up with a new thing called making female fighters blush. The article reads, quote, earlier this week, and this is from Nintendo Soup as well, earlier this week we shared with you Japanese players making use of snapshots mode to create lewd pictures of Diddy Kong and other female fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The Diddy Kong fad had quickly died down to make way for blushing fighters. To make a fighter blush, simply use the super spicy curry item, and it shows several characters blushing when they basically eat the curry spicy, and they showed some snapshots of it. Excuse me. You know what? Honestly, though, I have to say, I'm not really surprised by this. I really am not, because I remember a couple years ago when Super Smash Bros. Brawl came out. Excuse me. I remember reading an article about how some people have found characters doing like taking pictures of characters doing lewd things, sort of like timing it right. I mean, there was one scene where a Solid Snake was touching one of Samus's, pardon my language on this, touching one of Samus's breasts. So the fact that this exists isn't really all that shocking at all, and I'm not surprised that it happened. I'm sure there are some people who pulled it off with Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U and the 3DS, and so this isn't really anything new. So for some of these articles that kind of painted as and I'm not pulling that fake news crap or anything like that. I don't buy that argument in any way, but for some of these articles to make it sound like it's the most shocking thing out there, to me, it really isn't. I mean, we saw this in past Smash Brothers game, and the fact that this exists isn't anything new. And if what Mr. Sakura said, that the next Smash Bros. Could take 10 years, if that's true, I'm sure in 10 years, for crying out loud, people will find many ways to do characters do what many would perceive as lewd things as well. So, honestly, this isn't really anything new, and I'm not really shocked by this at all. I know some might, but it's not, it doesn't really is not that shocking, except for the Princess Peach part, which is, I really don't know what to say about that one. That was interesting. I'll leave it at that. That part was interesting, but the fact that there are certainly gamers out there that are using the snapshot and having characters in what many would view as lewd positions or questionable positions isn't really a new thing at all. So overall, I'm not really shocked by this at all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about some of the comments Reggie Fils-Aime said about in the Hollywood Report regarding third-party gaps on the Nintendo Switch to Red Dead Redemption 2? Do you think this is nothing more than corporate spin? Do you think he has a point to what he said about the third-party gap and what he said about would love to have seen Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about the Mortal Kombat 11 and this leaked from GameStop Italy about all these new features? Are you looking excuse me. Excuse me. Are you looking forward to these new features? Do you think do you like the idea of it catering towards to the esport audience, to be exact? What are your thoughts about this comment made about Dragon Age 4 being possibly, if what they're saying is true, being political, though? Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's not as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be? And what are your thoughts about Crash Team Racing or the Switch version disappearing? Do you think this is a sign that the game's not coming to the Nintendo Switch, or do you think people are blowing it way out of proportion? And what are your thoughts about some people being creative with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with the whole snapshot and what many perceive as lewd or inappropriate positions with some of the characters? Do you think it's that big of a deal? Do you think people are blowing it way out of proportion? Are you shocked by this? Are you really not that shocked at all about this? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. Excuse me. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!